Is aggravated robbery committed if the suspect never actually sees the victim? In 2008, a man walked into a convenience store with his face concealed beneath a fabric wrapped around his mouth and nose. He's wielding a long rifle, and he has an intent to rob the convenience store. The sole employee of the convenience store happened to be in the back office at the time, and via the surveillance camera saw the intruder enter the store, so he locked himself in the office and called 911. The assailant went to the counter. He was unable to open the cash register, but ended up taking a wallet, some property from underneath the counter, and he left, and he escaped successfully. He was not arrested until a couple of days later. And the question we have is whether or not the elements of the robbery were met. He was eventually convicted of robbery, and on appeal to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals is challenging the idea that he committed aggravated robbery because he never had a face-to-face confrontation with his victim. There is no evidence that he even knew the victim was in the back office at the time of the robbery. So we have to answer that question. We normally think of robbery as a potentially violent situation. Most robberies occur when the actor is very much aware of the victim's presence, and vice versa is also true. So this is a relatively unique scenario. What we're going to see is a really quick look at the application of the robbery statute and its the broad meanings behind the definitions we use to answer this question. So when we look at the robbery statute in section 29.02 of the Texas Penal Code, and we'll see the definition. A person commits robbery if in the course of committing theft is an important definition that we'll look at later. If in the course of committing theft with intent to obtain and maintain control of the property, which I think is evident in this case, he intentionally or knowingly threatens or places another in fear of imminent bodily injury or death. So two things really quickly to look at. One is intentionally or knowingly. Of those two, in this particular case, we're probably going to be using knowingly. There may be no evidence that he intentionally placed the victim in fear of imminent serious bodily injury when he was unaware that the victim was even in the store. And the other part that we need to look at is threaten or place a person in fear of imminent bodily injury or death. So that's a broad application of behavior that we're going to look at. We're going to say probably that he did not threaten the victim in this case. Again, not aware that he was even in the store. But did he place another in fear of imminent bodily injury or death? So real quickly we'll look at the mental state of knowingly. A person acts knowingly when he is aware that his conduct is reasonably certain to cause the result. In this case, the result we need is, with the intent to obtain or maintain control of the property, place another in fear of imminent bodily injury or death. So we look at the situation at hand. A man walked into a convenience store. He has his face concealed with either a mask, a cloth, a bandana, something along those lines, and he's wielding a firearm. In this case, it was a rifle. So when we look at that behavior, and then put into mind what the actor's intent was, should the actor be reasonably certain, not that he did, not that he knew he did, but that he would have or could have placed a person in fear of imminent bodily injury or death. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals would answer, of course, that the evidence is sufficient, that the offense was committed, and uphold the verdict of aggravated robbery.